All right, we are receiving the content and we should be live. What is going on, everyone? Oh, hey, Matty, back with the first live stream on this brand new YouTube. This is where all of our live streams are going to be going on moving forward. Still working on the lighting setup. My room is a total mess right now. Just got this brand new curved monitor. I'll take a photo and put it out on Twitter soon. Having a lot of issues with my right eye. I talked about that on the last live stream. So we're just getting things set up and it looks pretty awesome in here, but still working on the studio. It's definitely a work in progress, but you guys will get to see it bit by bit. Let me know who's in the chat. If, oh, got some feedback coming in. Let me know who's in the chat. Any of the old guard coming over from the old YouTube, I'll probably recognize your name. Anyone coming over from Twitch that was, maybe found me on Twitch or whatever, let me know, sound off. Let me know where you guys are coming in from. So that way I can, give the recognition that you deserve. Mr. Thekus, what's up in the chat? How you doing, bro? Nice to see you over here on the new YouTube. Hopefully we can, get everyone to come over as well. Or slowly, I think as we do more of these live streams, they'll recognize that we're over here and we'll build from here. Still going to be doing the short YouTube videos over on the other channel. Already have the, just put out the Bitcoin review. Just put out a really awesome news update. A lot of regarding Ripple. Video's already doing great, so I would definitely check that out. Covers all the great articles that are going on in the space currently. In fact, I think today was a huge news day. Upcoming, let's talk about some stuff that's upcoming since this is really the place for that. I got two videos coming up. Number one is a breakdown of the Ichimoku code base for the indicator script and how it's used, how I use Ichimoku, what the strengths and negatives are from an expertise trader. And just kind of breaking down all of that stuff, and also my stock settings. Someone had pointed out to me that not everyone uses the same stock settings. It's not the same as the base model, and it sometimes confuses them. So I kind of want to put that to bed as well. And then also I have an awesome video coming out about Zcash. It's going to be a fundamental analysis plus technical analysis video. It's going to be a little bit longer than the normal technical analysis videos, but it will break down everything that's been going on with Zcash over the last few weeks, and then we'll look at the price and see how Zcash is doing. Regarding the altcoin reviews that I've been doing, I think they're very beneficial for people to see how I trade altcoins. But I think the disconnect comes from the following. So with altcoins, you have to wait for a certain period of time in the month or in several months or whatever it may be. You have to wait for a period of time in altcoins, and then they'll trigger. And then that trigger is what takes you long. They'll typically all trigger, and you're really looking for ones that are more oversold than the others. So we looked at our 5 calls that we made the other day. We talked about Bcash, we talked about Link, we talked about Litecoin, we talked about EOS, and we talked about XLM. 5 majors that we had predicted that would go off. And Link and Bitcoin Cash went off the most, and XLM was third, and then Litecoin and EOS, they had marginal gains. And by the time I left those trades, I was close to break even outside of a 5% of a portion. It was about 25% of my trade got taken off the table for a 5% gain hit, but outside of that, it was like kind of whatever. And if you look at it, the PTs for Bitcoin Cash and for Link were just much more apparent on the upside, while Litecoin and EOS kind of look stagnant. XLM really surprised me, in my opinion. That one went the distance as well. So I think that, you have to understand that when we go into an alt rally or an alt move, everything's going to go up for the most part. It's just about what has the upside, what's more oversold, etc. The other thing is macro. Link has been, from a macro perspective, just killing it. In fact, in my news article that I put out, I talked about how Link was one of 3 coins that had outpaced Bitcoin's gains in 2019, which were Litecoin, Link, and Binance, right? So, Link has been just a big push forward in terms of price action, mainly related to technicals, mainly related to the fact that a lot of people believe that oracles are the future. So you have all that. So we're going to be looking at more of a macro perspective of that. But in terms of the altcoin reviews, I think they're really good. I don't mind to continue doing them, but I kind of want your feedback. If you're watching this video, let me know in the comments below. I kind of want your feedback of what I should be doing about that. I really feel like it's a disservice to you guys to put out an altcoin review if there's nothing going on. So for example, people were like, oh, can you put out an altcoin review on Bitcoin Cash? And I put out an altcoin review on Bitcoin Cash, and I was like, it looks like shit, because all the altcoins look like shit when I looked at them. But I did put out an in-depth review on Bitcoin Cash in my Telegram channel when I saw that the market was turning around. And I said, look, I'm jumping in this trade right now. If you guys want to look at it, go take a look. The trade looks really good. Bitcoin Cash had a huge move. And then there was a bull flag for Bitcoin Cash for an extended move, which I talked about as well for the ABCD pattern. So it made more sense to have that Bitcoin Cash review when it was time to have that. The problem is, the disconnect is that I don't have time as someone who's an upcoming father, a full-time trader who's managing my own portfolio and content creator. I don't have time to really look through every single altcoin. I mainly trade futures on the majors pairs, and I keep an eye on them and I set some alerts. So I think what it'll be like, I think what the best happy medium for all of us is when I see a potential alt move coming, I notify people, and then we start looking at certain coins that can potentially move. And we'll kind of take it from there. So I want your feedback. I want you to let me know what we should be doing about this. Perhaps you see other YouTubers that are doing something similar and you have an idea of what the best practice is. Because I will make videos like the Zcash video where I'm talking macro and technical, but I think it's pointless to keep doing those reviews, though they're doing really well for me. So let's not diminish, how they're doing in terms of people watching them. People are consuming that content, but I think it's a disservice to be like, oh, well, this alt looks like shit today. This alt looks like shit today. It's going to be like that almost every day, like 80% of the time. So yes, please only review viable projects. We're here for investing and trading. Don't waste your time with random project reviews. Well, I'm not talking about that, Goldfish. I'm talking about the TA reviews that we do on requests, which are mainly major coins because they have to be traded on TradingView. So you probably saw my Cardano ICX Phantom technical review. Like when I say technical, I mean TA. I'm not talking about technical. So I did a TA review of Phantom, ICX, Cardano. I think I did one of Ripple. There's a couple others, and it was all during a time where all coins were bleeding, right? So if you come and say, oh hey, can you look at this coin? It's not going to do any good because they're bleeding. But if I see that there's an altcoin rally coming, then it'd be more important for you to have that information. So I think that can still get translated here. I think that if we have random coins you guys want to review, we can definitely utilize this time during the live stream to get those coins out of the way in terms of reviewing them from a TA perspective. I think that would be the most appropriate place. And then I think I'm just going to try and pick and choose like highlights for a coin. So for example, I'm going to be having the review of like Zcash, right? So that's something where we can look at macro and we'll do a technical spotlight. We'll use the Telegram and Twitter and the Discord as a way for us to convey immediate information that I may not have time to go into a technical review, and then follow that up with one. So Mr. Thika says, then might not be worth it because you won't analyze in depth and just stop halfway through. What do you mean stop halfway through and in depth? Kind of go into a larger thought on that, Mr. Thika. So I want to get your feedback. Make sure I understand what you're saying. Or maybe I'm not accurately translating what I'm trying to say. Let me take a sip of my Baja Blast Mountain Dew, the best. If you're gonna kill your sperm, do it with Mountain Dew. I will say that it did not prevent me from having a child, so #science. What's going on with Bitcoin, guys? Let's talk about that while you guys put your questions or your formulated thoughts into the chat. So I had this read the first post. Yo. Then might not be worth it. I don't understand the first post. I'll reread you what you said to me, and then I'll try and explain why I don't understand it. Let's short this Ponzi. Thanks, Andy. You said then might not be worth. I don't think your first post came up. So the first thing I see from you is it says yo, then might not be worth it, and then it says because you won't analyze in depth and just stop halfway through. Read the first post. So I don't really understand what you're saying. So if you could just formulate the question in a different way, so that way I can definitely answer your question, that'd be cool. And then Goldfish said, yes, please only review viable projects. So like, I'm trying to actually just move away. It's missing a post. Yeah, I figured. I was like, I don't get what you're saying. So I'm moving away from project reviews. There may be project reviews here and there, and like an occasional sponsor content video, but I think that's over with. I think it's just time to move forward, and I think when I'm ready, I'll eventually address that as well. But really, I think that people are kind of craving for, you know, technical analysis. I do have like a really awesome system that I perfected, in my opinion. So I think that's what people are looking for. So, you know, in terms of like project reviews, like it's really going to have to be something that I think people are interested in, and that like it's a good project. So don't worry about that, Goldfish. It's like if I do any project reviews, it'll definitely be viable or limited. But I was more referring to technical analysis for like, you know, doing TA and stuff like that. I enjoy watching and learning about your trading system. The assets don't matter so much. If altcoins look like crap, you might not analyze in depth and stop halfway through. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. So for me, I'll look ahead of time for sure. Like if I'm looking at my list of coins to analyze and I'm just seeing that alts look like shit, I just won't do a video, and then I'll just put out on Telegram and Twitter and whatever that alts look like crap, and I'm not doing a video on it. And you know what we were looking at before was that we were gonna have kind of like a daily, weekday altcoin review video. And I think instead, and especially because of the success of the Ripple video and the news that I just put out, I think instead we're going to focus, at least from a daily perspective, of putting out more macro news and opinion-based stuff during the afternoon. Hit the morning update in the morning. Hit the nighttime update on the nighttime. Hit the live streams, you know, 3 days a week, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then, you know, focus, fill the gaps in with like, you know, spotlight videos. Some big news just came out. You guys want to hear some high level perspective of something. I think I do that pretty well. Yo, man, look at the DXY. No dollar weakness is coming. Okay, well, then we'll have to look at the dollar index. I don't expect the same in-depth or quality review on every project someone asks about. I think you must just use your discretion. I think that was more important with the ICO era. Yeah, and even in the ICO era, I tried to. This guy is messaging me, says there's a dollar shortage going on in the world at the moment. I'll have to talk to him afterwards. I think he may have a better perspective of it than I do on that front. Yeah, the ICO era was definitely a wild time for the people who lived through it. There was a lot of people that came into this space from there. Your high quality Bitcoin TA rocks. Some news videos or alt trade setups if they are there. Now TA is better and the necessary fundamentals. Yeah, we've definitely come a long way in terms of being able to translate TA to people. And it's not only just having a system that works that you can have faith in, but it's also being able to translate it in a layman's terms. Like I've definitely evolved and refined my message and the direction I'm heading in and the content to a point that I'm really happy with now. So, you know, I am pretty, I guess, bullish on that. I'm pretty happy with that. So yeah, the main focus will be TA. The structure of not this channel specifically, but the structure in general will be, you know, morning Bitcoin, afternoon, perhaps a news video, high level video, some sort of spotlight video, nighttime cap. So we'll be doing 2 Bitcoin reviews a day, every 12 hours, Monday through Friday. We'll be doing live streams Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Eastern Standard Time. All of this will be put into somewhere. It'll be put somewhere, and I'll let you know where it goes. And then, you know, videos throughout the week, and then maybe we'll chug out some over the weekend. So the point is just to have, you know, consistent quality videos that provide value for you guys, teach you how to become better at trading, teach you how you can make money in this market, and also provide education and information that can make you have better decisions and an appreciation for a lot of things that happen in this space from someone who's been in this space for coming up on 5 years now and has used Bitcoin as a transactionary payment layer, has used Bitcoin as a speculative investment, has been through the ICO boom, who has been through technically 2 bull markets and 2 bear markets, one full time, the other kind of blissfully ignorant to. You know, and someone who's been putting out content every single day for 2 years now. Yeah, 2 years. So at least in terms of crypto, I used to do poker content over on Twitch in 2014. But yeah, so you know, I think there's definitely a thirst for people who enjoy the content, and that's kind of the direction we'll be going into. We're gonna hop into Bitcoin TA in just a second. Just want to make sure other people's questions are getting heard. Hey Matty, what's up? BDP, what is going on? And thank you everyone for your comments and questions and stuff like that. It's definitely much appreciated. That's what this forum is for. I want to make people understand that these TA live streams, they're not geared towards views or whatever. They're really lax. It's a way for me to communicate with my viewers, and we're just gonna do what we want to do on here. And if people don't like that, that's fine. Live streams typically appeal to the core audience, and that's what we're gonna be doing. So how low can we go? That's the major question coming in from Andy, and that's where we're gonna be heading. So we're first gonna look at the 3-hour chart, and we see that we have this Fibonacci retracement graph that's set up. This will show us areas of interest. It's probably more important to look at on the 4-hour in terms of some of the moving averages, but in general, it will do that. We'll just go to the 4-hour and show you what's going on there. All right. So we blew through the 618 on the 4-hour. Pretty important, 10,326. We're currently below that. This candle is still open. We have another 36 minutes. So if we can get some buy pressure to at least bring us up into the support range, the support range was held multiple times, especially back in July and also on the way up. So if the support range had held, it would have been significant in terms of potentially a bounce back, but it looks like we blew right through it. So now we're in the 618 to 786. For those people who trade Fibonacci's, you will know that this is actually what's referred to as the 2-to-1 range. And I call it the 2-to-1 range because your risk to reward of a 2-to-1 trade in the direction of the trend is high. It's when you break your 618, you are more likely to retest your bottom than you are to go back above your 618. So now that we're down here, if we have a candle close here and we have a follow-up candle that opens and closes below the 618, this will be confirmation that we've broken the 618 and now it is a resistance, and it will most likely be a very strong resistance at that. There is some support range in here based on this previous low area of 10,200 to 9,800. That's obviously here. That's a 10K resistance. In my opinion, a lot of people have been talking about how 10K is important and all this stuff, and I do think for a period of time 10K was important. But if you recall, when we bounced up from 9K down here, we broke 10K pretty significantly up to 11,000. We broke back down 10K pretty significantly, and then we broke up 10K pretty significantly. So as far as history tells us, going back to the middle of July, and also there was a 10K support here and here, and we also broke through it on the upside. If you look at the entirety of the history dating from the end of June to present, 10K has not really been that important with the exception of these two support areas. But it's been tested multiple times, and then after these 2 times that we tested the support, we just broke through on both times. So now, in my opinion, 9K is much more important than 10K, and the reason being is because the last 2 times we were down in this range, this is where price decided to gravitate to. We are coming down for the 3rd test of that 9K, and as mentioned before in previous videos, we are now in a descending triangle, heading back down for our 3rd test of the bottom of that descending triangle. And the targets on that are as follows. We'll be getting into those in just a second. The thing I want to do is go up to the daily time frame, and I want to show people the overall fib that's measured from the absolute bottom of this move, the exponential move that we had. I'm going to remove this really weird fib. I guess that's left over. So these are the targets, the finalized targets, because we threw out a bunch of different targets throughout our time of moving up and up and up. And that's because we didn't have a high in. So our targets were being based off of if this was the high, if this was the high, if this was the high. Well, the high is in now. There's no denying the highs in. We've been making lower highs. This is our 3rd lower high that just got made. We've been making flat bottoms for our last 2 lows. This was a double bottom that caused this spike up. That's why you're in a descending triangle. There's no arguments about it, in my opinion. Yes, some people will try and tell you it's symmetrical, but in my opinion, the accumulation range started when we broke the parabolic advance, and it just looks like another descending triangle. Descending triangles are what happens after a big exponential move. It's called an accumulation, or I forget what the other term. It starts with a D. Distribution is more, depending on which direction it's going. If we go down, it's a distribution. We go up, it's accumulation. People are buying. Distribution is people are selling off their bags, distributing it to the general public to get caught up in here. So that being said, where is our fibs lines? Well, we've already broken through this 382 twice. 382, it might as well be the 10K support that we were talking about. So I don't think it's relevant. I don't think the 382 is relevant. I don't think we're going to come down and support this 382. You can also see the Ichimoku support is also below the 382. It's somewhere around 9.3 and 8.9. This is where your fight for 9K will be. This upper resistance that was shown here, that's at 9K as well. And the 0.5 fib is 85.10. So that's your next target. You're looking for some tests of the 85.10 to see if this 0.5 can hold before going up to a new high eventually. This is probably, if your dollar cost averaging down based on Fibonacci, this is where your next buy target is. You'll probably be buying 9.85 and 7.2. This is dangerous, in my opinion. And I talked about this before. A few reasons. Number one, this is the first time I've ever seen a parabolic advance happen and then break down. This is the first time you had this massive exponential move and a breakdown prior to breaking the previous high. I've never seen something like this. This is a whole new market. This is not similar to 2015 in terms of the post, and everything before 2015 is not mature enough, in my opinion, for technical analysis, outside of maybe that little bump up. So I think this is a rare formation that's happening, and the breakdown is going to be an accumulation to decide what to do. And that accumulation is going to be a massive run up of higher highs, or it's going to be a rejection of the price of Bitcoin to say that enough is enough. The price of Bitcoin is way overpriced. Speculators feel it's overpriced, and they feel this way because of the adoption and what it's being used for. Maybe they feel that that all this time, let's just throw out narratives, right? Let's say, for example, all this time, people thought that Bitcoin could be a peer-to-peer cash system. But if you look at our news-based video today, we talked about how people in Venezuela and Argentina are wary about adopting Bitcoin for their payment transactions. And the reason that they're wary about adopting Bitcoin for their payment transactions is because of its volatility when they can choose things like DAI. Or perhaps they're worried about the fact that if they're using it in an environment where the government is persecuting them, they're more concerned about privacy. Now, Bitcoin is one of the greatest privacy coins built in if you use it the way it's intended, but people who are using it in Venezuela, they want access to portable wallets where they don't have to worry about doing all these crazy things. So instead, they use things like Dash, right? We talked about in the news article about how people paying for parking in Venezuela are using Dash. Dash is very adopted down there. They also use DAI. DAI is a big thing because it's stable and it's custodially backed. Can't be controlled by, it's backed by Ethereum. So, and I talked about Reserve for a little bit as well. That's an alternative to DAI who claim to be doing bigger things. And I'm down with alternatives. There's like how many stable coins out there? We can have multiple asset-backed cryptos as well for stable coins. But the point is that as the market evolves, the adoption of Bitcoin is being questioned in these third world countries or other countries that needed to adopt Bitcoin. So if we went to Greece right now, if Greece was educated and said, hey, you know what? Why don't we just buy DAI instead of Bitcoin, right? It's a stable coin and it's a cryptocurrency and it's backed by something that's supposedly decentralized. And I think what we're eventually going to see, and this is what DAI had planned on doing to begin with, is making a Bitcoin-backed DAI. And that way we'll have all the power that Bitcoin brings with it in terms of having intrinsic value, in terms of being decentralized and immutable and all that stuff. And it'll be backed by a stable coin. Or perhaps there will be, I think Bitcoin is eventually going to come out with some sort of privacy function that's more relatable into the wallet. But then you have all these issues with wallet manufacturers now that are forcing people to KYC, which I'm very against, right? So, I mean, it defeats the point, in my opinion. Censorship resistance, and they're just going to know what you're doing with your money anyway. What's, the hell with that? This is a revolution. This isn't compliance, right? So, thinking about that type of stuff, it could be a narrative saying, is Bitcoin extremely overvalued? Is Bitcoin an efficient peer-to-peer cash system? Is Bitcoin an efficient peer-to-peer cash system? Is Bitcoin being adopted in the people who are feeling the hurt the most from inflation right now in Argentina? I would argue that Bitcoin is still being adopted for sure, and that's more of an information war in my opinion. But we are seeing people now turn to alternative cryptocurrencies that can either easily do what they're trying to do in terms of privacy, or that's more apparent to them, or is it just getting adopted because Dash is, I believe, partnered with some mobile company down there, and that's another thing. Mobile is a huge port of entry for people, so you have your phone on you all the time. These people have their phone on them all the time. They don't really have expensive computers. They buy these mobile phones for $70, and then they have their wallet on there, and their phone is what keeps everything. They carry their phone with them on all times, etc. It's hard for someone to go in their house and steal their phone because it's on them if they're not home or something like that. So it just makes a lot of sense that they're doing things mobilely, and Dash is taking the step forward to make those partnerships in some of these parts of the world with mobile companies to essentially get that access to users who are craving cryptocurrency. So, from what I understand, Bitcoin doesn't have, I mean, they have Blockstream, but is Bitcoin really out there marketing themselves the way that these other coins that are hustling to get adoptability? Because they understand how behind the eight ball they are when it comes to Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. So, that's why I always said Bitcoin needs competitors in this space. It's why Bitcoin maximalism is a joke. Because if people stop adopting Bitcoin and it starts to fall and you have some sort of flippening, you best damn well believe that Bitcoin is going to start adopting some of the things that they have to be competitive. Bitcoin's going to start putting money into, like, people who are controlling it right now, Blockstream and others. They're going to start putting money into marketing and getting more partnerships or things like that, instead of just being this decentralized entity that does not have the unique advantages of some of these alternative cryptocurrencies have, which are Bitcoin based anyway, right? They're Bitcoin based anyway, except that they leverage some centralized entities and centralized, I guess, printing money, as Tone Vase would call them, to benefit themselves, and they're winning some sort of front of the war. So that's a dangerous thing when we talk about Bitcoin. It's a dangerous thing when we talk about price, because if we have a distribution coming on down here, and everyone's like, "Oh, I can buy cheap Bitcoin. Let me buy these FIB targets." Well, what happens when we break the 200 daily? What happens if a weekly bear cycle starts again off this exponential? What happens if you put in a lower low? Like, these things seem impossible, and it's actually scary to think when I look online and say that these things are impossible, because I'll tell you right now, as a trader, nothing's impossible. It's just unlikely, and unlikely does not give confidence and finite probability. So we always need to be understanding of the market that we're in. We always need to look at things from an unbiased perspective. We always need to be like Socrates and question everything we're spoon-fed. And we always need to have a plan for in every direction that we're heading in. So, realistically speaking, I'm looking at dollar cost averaging at least 8.5 and 618. But I also plan on hedging this by playing the futures market with a portion of my portfolio, maintaining cash for lower portions down. I always maintain the belief that Bitcoin can and will eventually hit $50,000, $100,000, $200,000. So I need to be understanding that, if we ever in the off chance ever go down and make a lower low, I will be prepared for it, and I will be prepared with a written plan, to know that I will hold that Bitcoin until I get to my next targets, which I plan on holding to, which are 50, 100,000, 200,000, whatever it may be, based on the technicals at that time. But I need to understand that if I'm buying in here, you're buying because you believe that Bitcoin is relevant for the long term. You believe that Bitcoin can change the world over the next 10 to 20 years. So don't buy here and then be like, "Oh, fuck, we're all the way down here. What am I going to do?" And be like those people who didn't buy 3K, or be like, myself, I bought 4K. There was a ton of people who didn't. How many people want to come back into this range? That's another contrarian thought. So, the only thing that we can do, and I always tell people this, is that no one can predict the future. The only thing we can do is look at interesting targets for where we are on the downtrend, if the downtrend continues. And then you can dollar cost average in if you want. And that's not financial advice, not a financial advisor. Do your own due diligence. That's just how I'm viewing the market. So I don't think this 382 fib is relevant anymore. I'm looking at the 0.5 and 0.618 fib. I'll probably have maybe one or two buy orders in this area in case of a wick. And then from there, I'm not buying until we break 4K, probably. I'll probably buy a double bottom down here. I'll probably buy 2 and 1 if that ever fucking happens. And like I'm saying, these are like less than 1% scenarios that these play out. But like I said, nothing's impossible. People never thought that we would have a Great Depression in America. We did. It's just an unfortunate set of circumstances. In my opinion, what I see happening is retracement again to the 7 to 8.5K range well, we can really just say 9.7 to 7.2. I'll say 9 to 7, as I said before. And then I expect accumulation, and then I expect a moon. But if we break down from there, better be fucking prepared for it. Don't come back here and say, "Whoa, Matty, what happened, bro?" I'll tell you what fucking happened. You believed all the fucking other dudes smoking the hopium out there on Twitter, thinking that it would never happen, and it's impossible. Be realistic with yourself. Understand that you should always have a plan, regardless of what's going to happen, both long term and short term. And if you can't stick to a plan, write it down and stick to a plan. And that's the end of the story. So if we break the 9K resistance from the descending triangle, what is the next target? I think we answered that. But right now I'm trading the 3 hour, and I'm still in the short. I've been in the short since, August 6th. And right now I've been making a ton off funding. Funding has been paying shorts massive, especially during the accumulation range. I think I made 3 to 4% just on funding alone. So right now, that's not a price gauge. Since last week, when I told you guys I was going short, we have been on a 15% gain, roughly. And I am on 4x leverage, so that's 60% for me, or whatever it comes out to, 15% of 4x leverage. So it's pretty nice, especially this recent dump that also was nice. And it looks like on the Ichimoku Renko, we're going back towards the 786 right now. So, and the new candle starts in 20 minutes. Let me know your questions, bros. I only got about 20 more minutes. This is going to be a shorter live stream today, about an hour. The reason why is because I have to go clean my dog's kennel. And I had to make sure that's all clean before my wife gets home and chews me out. So let me know. I'm sure you guys got some questions. What is the highest leverage you use? So I've discussed this before. Maybe I'll do a video on it, since it is a question that does come up from time to time. That way I can just reference you to the video. But it's all about your trading strategy. So most people will tell you 2 to 3x leverage is all you should be using. And that's all you really need. But my risk is not baked into my leverage. My risk is baked into my trading system. It's baked into my bankroll management, right? And I think this is a common misconception among traders. They think that their leverage is their risk, and they just put whatever amount of money they want to. And I think this is super foolish. So number one, anyone who's trading seriously, and this is a 100% truth. You can go look up just traditional stock or Forex traders or whatever. Anyone who's trading seriously should have a $50,000 bankroll. End of story. You can have less than 50,000. That's fine. I've seen people do that. Whatever you want to do. Deribit has really low slippage, really low trading fees as well. If you really want to be like more conscious of how much fees are really cutting up your trading and stuff like that. But 50,000 is really the sweet spot. And the reason being is because you want each of your trades to be 1/100th of your overall bankroll. If you want to be conservative, 1/150, right? So if you take a calculator, and I'll just bring a calculator up real quick. So if you bring a calculator up real quick and you have $50,000 and you divide it by 100, then that means one trade is worth $500, right? One trade is worth $500. And if we do leverage, let's say we do 3x leverage or something like that, one trade is worth like $1,500. So if your average winning trade on a 4-hour time frame is 10%, right? That means that you win $150. We'll say every 4 days on average, you win that trade, right? So let me just bring up another calculator here. So let's say you win your trades 2 to 1. So every 3 trades, you win $150, right? You win 2 trades, it's 300. You lose 1 trade, it's 150. You net 150. We're not even including fees yet. It's probably closer to 100. So every 3 trades, you win 150. And we're looking at this from the perspective of a monthly average, right? So monthly average, let's say you have a trade every 4 days on average. So a 4-hour time frame will be about 3 to 5 days. You're going to have upside trades and downside trades, but your average trade is 150 positive. So we take 30 days in a month and we divide it by 4. So you're going to have about 7.5 trades. You're going to have about 7.5 trades a day. Hold on. Wait. Okay. Sorry about that. I thought it was a, may still be. Thought it was a tornado warning. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Okay, so you're getting about 7.5 trades. We'll just call it 8 for sense of simplicity. You're going to win 2 trades and lose 1, so it's 3. So your 3 there is like 2.66. You times that by 150. Your monthly average is 400, right? So you can just see right there how little you're actually making a day or a month, right? But yeah, actually, let me just make sure that that was correct. I need to bring up a calculator because that sounds a little bit low. Okay, so if I'm using Forex leverage, you have 50,000 divided by 100, and it's on Forex leverage, and you multiply by 10%, it's 200. That doesn't mean much. So you can just see how much you're actually winning. It's very low. So you actually need a lot of money in order for that to happen. So it kind of sucks if you're looking at it from that perspective. But you're building up your bankroll. So maybe like if you're looking at any sort of reasonable money, you'd have to like 4x that. My bank account is way bigger, so I never really thought about it from that perspective. There's something crazy going on outside. There's like sirens everywhere. I'm not sure if you guys can hear that. Anyway. So, yeah, you can kind of go through that, and you can like lower your amount that you're risking or raise your amount that you're risking. But the leverage is more of like your trading strategy. So the way I look at things is like I used to do a scalping strategy, right? In and out, very low risk in terms of being in a trade for too long. So that would be something that I'd use like higher leverage on, like 20x leverage. And if I was doing like normal leverage, I prefer 4. But you can kind of lower your leverage to 2 or 3. That would be my recommended. Recommend 2 to 3. I'd actually recommend you trade on a test account first, and then 4 or 5 if you're looking to raise your leverage, if you have more confidence. 20x is what I was using for shorts. I would never recommend that to anyone. Like I was using that for scalps. So I hope that makes sense. I'm trying to really figure out what the hell's going on. There's no tornado or anything. Sirens have been going on for like 2 minutes. Weird. Freaks me out, bro. All right. Any other questions, guys? I hope that made sense. I feel like I kind of fucked that up. We can probably look up like trading bankroll management, right? How much should I risk per trade? Yeah, it's 1%. So if you have a $30,000 account, you can risk 300%. Yeah, that's what it's called the Kelly criteria, by the way. It's like a whatever, but if you're trading a 4-hour, kind of sucks. So I would recommend increasing the percentage if you're on a 4-hour. So like, for example, let's bring my calculators back up. So if you're looking at it from, let's say like you want to make 4,000 a month. That's where you should really start. How much are you looking to make a month? That's 4,000 a month. And you know that, let's think about this. 4,000 a month, and you're looking to make, you need to figure out how many trades you would need. So, let me think about that. So you're looking at, we said 8 trades. We'll say we go down to a 2-hour time frame. I've been trading a lot on the 2-hour time frame recently. Let's say we get a trade every like 2 days, 2 or 3 days, or in this case, we're on a long trade. I can actually just look back and see how many trades we're getting. So we've been trading this 3-hour. If we were trading the 3-hour consistently, this was our trade from 9 to the 15th. So we've been in a trade for about, this is about a third of the month, 15%, and the trade's still going. And then here, this is from the 27th to the 6th. So this was about 9 days, a third of the month. So every third of the month, I'm looking at like this was another one. This was like closer to 10% over 5 days. So I would say you're getting on average, just on a quick ballpark, let's say you're making 20% every month, right? 20%. So if I bring up my calculator again and I'm making 20%, I need that 20% to be $4,000 of whatever I'm risking. So if I'm on $1,000 leverage, then if I'm on $1,000 times 4x leverage, then that would be $4,000, right? So we'll say ideally I need my bet to be $1,000, and then I need to make 20%, so I need to make that 5 times. So I would need to be 5,000. So you'd be 5,000 on 4x leverage would be 20,000. 20% of that is 4,000, right? So you need each of your bets to be 5,000, and 5,000 times like so 1%, that would need to be 1%, right? And times 100, that would be 500,000. That's just really ridiculous. So I think it's based off of your loss, right? So I don't use stop losses as a problem for me, but you need to be part of your loss so you can risk 300. The key word is risk. Yeah, they have risk bold. It's essentially saying that the most you can lose is 300. So essentially what would happen in your trading system is that you have 5,000 that you're risking on a trade, and you can only lose, we'll say, you can only lose 1% of your overall roll. So if your roll is 50,000 and you lose 1% of that, that's 500. If you divide 500 by 5,000, you get 10%. So for you, you would make sure that your stop loss, no matter what, was at 10%, right? I can only lose 10%. So that's how you would mitigate your risk. So that's how I look at my leverage. I had to think about that for a second. That took way too long to explain. I would have to look at my leverage to determine like what my goal is and what my bankroll is. But ideally, you want $50,000, and ideally, you don't want to lose more than 500. And then, so like for me, right, my account's a little bit larger than that, so I'll just say that right now. But if your bank, let's say you manage to put $50,000 together, you have 50K. And I'll probably think about all this in a more structured way, so that way I can put it in a video so you guys understand it. But you have $50,000. You don't want to risk more than 1% of your overall bankroll. So that way, if I lost 100 trades, that I would need to lose 100 trades to break to lose all my money, and that's almost statistically impossible, right? If you're at least a decent trader, or at least halfway average, so you'll at least win some of your trades. If you were a bad trader, you'd probably lose 2 and win 1. So it would take a very long time, and by that point, you'd probably get better. So if you were using 4x leverage and you're trying to make 4,000 a month, which is what the average American I think needs to survive, maybe a year less, then that's how you would be thinking about it. You'd say, okay, well, how can I make 4,000 a month? Well, you're probably going to need to risk 5,000 on 4x leverage, or 4,000 on 4x leverage. And that way, if you lose 5%, you're losing 500, right? Yeah. So if you're at 5,000 and you lost 10%, then that means you lost 500, and that 10% equates to 1%. That bankroll equates to 1% of your overall bankroll. So whatever is going on, whatever your bankroll is, each bet you should only be risking 1% of it. So even if your bankroll was like 1,000, right? Hypothetically speaking, I'll tell you can't do 1,000, but let's say your bankroll's 1,000 and you lost, you can only lose 1%. Then that means that you can only lose $10, which would be pretty crazy. So yeah, so that's why it's kind of like not feasible. But looks like bankroll management for Omaha pot limit. So the same bankroll management is used for Omaha PLO. You need way more than 100 buy-ins. You need like 200 to 250. Tournaments are 150. Regular cash games are preferred 100 at higher stakes. You can do 30, try and run it up, stuff like that. So like, yeah, poker bankroll is very similar to trading. It's also very similar to sports betting. It all falls under something called the Kelly criteria, or criterium or whatever. So when you went short, 99% of your other XBT was in spot. So for what I hold in crypto, they were in spot. But I prefer to hold USD, surprisingly. I know it's a surprising shock, but I do have an investment portfolio, and that investment portfolio is in spot. And if I see the long term market going down, so if I'm looking at the daily and I think there may be a big pullback on the daily, I'll liquidate a good portion of my spot price into USD, and then I'll reinvest into spot when I think there may be a turnaround. So at 4K, when we took that ride up to 4K, when I said that I was buying it back into the market, that was me saying that I was pulling my crypto assets back into spot, like a percentage of my crypto assets back into spot. I always hold my margin account in, well, technically in spot. I have like a certain amount that would be equated to like maybe, let me think about that. Yeah, so I have like enough for a few trades probably. I have enough for, if you think about it, it's like, let me think about that. I'm trying to think of my own numbers. I keep enough in margin. I keep like maybe a Bitcoin in margin. So that way I can utilize that Bitcoin for trading. That's really all you really need. But you need to understand, like, you're only setting yourself up for like $500 losses or whatever, or 10% moves. So like if we look at what happened here, I didn't set a spot for this or a stop, but if I had set a stop, looking here, I don't know if it has the 10 o'clock candle on it. I gotta go back to the hourly. This candle right here. So my system told me to go short on this candle. And you would essentially look here and say that if you close probably 10% down, then you would need to exit the trade. And the highest we ever went was 3.53%. And really what you're protecting from is like the less than 1% chance of some major ghost wick happening, right? Like when we were at like 7.4 or whatever. Typically my trend based indicator gives me indications of when we're going to see those major moves anyway. And sometimes things you can do to increase your bankroll is understand what your average gain is on whatever time frame you're trading on and set profit targets. So for example, we looked back and said that the average gain was about 15%, right? 20%, 10%, something like that. What you could do is you could take 25% off the table at 10%, 25% off the table at 15, 25% off the table at 20, and then let the other 25% run, because you don't want to cap your gains. And we saw that exact example. So if you remember, someone over on Twitch was like, I forget who it was yesterday, it might have been Zero. He was like, if you're thinking about looking for a long, why haven't you exited your trade yet? And I said, well, I don't know that this is the bottom, right? That's a very pretty straightforward answer, but it's true. If you look at what's happening over here on my XBT Renko chart, we were at this support at 10,788. We had just broken this baseline, and we're kind of hovering here at the 0.5. And I was like, well, this might not be the bottom. And I was right, because this hasn't told me that we're going long yet. There hasn't been any significant accumulation or pullback that you would typically see after a big move like this. And if I had just exited my trade because I thought that I would be looking for a long, we would have missed out on like 5%, right? But what you can do to kind of like it's called locking in your gains, is that if you look here, this is a 15% move so far. Or actually, let me make sure that that's actually 15%. Yeah. Can you delete yourself, please? Whatever. This one over here. Fuck whatever the hell is trying to go on with this. I got it. Nice. So if you're looking at, we'll remove this too. It's irking me. So if you're looking here, this is your 15% move so far. Instead of saying 5 or 10, 15, 20% or whatever, how about you say, okay, I'll take 25% off the table at 7 here, the 0.382. I'll take 25% off the table here at the 0.5, 9%, 9.7%. I'll take 25% off the 618. So right now, I could take 75% off the table and lock in my gains. Because what happens tomorrow if you go to bed tonight, right? What happens if you just wake up and the price is at 12.5? what the fuck just happened? You'd be kicking yourself in the ass. So lock in them gains, bro hims. That's the plan. You know what? After this call, after this live stream, I'm gonna go lock in my gains, bro. Take 75% off. Just let the rest ride. The thing with futures exchanges, if you're trading on XBT, all you care about is gaining more satoshis because you think that Bitcoin will moon eventually, and you just want more Bitcoin. So there will be a time for liquidations or whatever, but you're just accruing your wealth in Bitcoin. In the future, we're going to be trading futures on TD Ameritrade most likely, and that'll be a USD probably, and it'll be much easier for me in my opinion. But for now, this is what we're doing. This is what we have. So when you're short 99% of your other, yeah. So we answered that. Yeah. So I mean, lock in those gains. Understand what your system's doing. All of these things are important. We're still going down right now, 135. Any other questions? Because I got about time for one more question. I know we kind of went on a tangent on that one. I got about 10 minutes probably, I would say. Maybe a little less if no one else has a question. But ETH down 10% today. Man, I was telling Medic earlier, I said, had we have just traded ETH, we would have absolutely killed it. Because ETH was much easier to trade during this accumulation period. So that's what kind of prompt me to start looking at the majors more, doing a daily update on the majors. It doesn't take long. Maybe it takes like 30 minutes for me to kind of just go through the majors and see what's going on. And they all look relatively the same unless one of them is independently moving. When I say majors, the majors have now been classified as anything that Binance US and Coinbase want to list. They have determined that the regulatory risk is so low because of the development on the project that it's considered a major currency. It has US pairings and it has a fiat on-ramp that you can go in and out from your bank account. That would be considered a major. It's provided liquidity. So hope that helps. All right, any other questions before we go? Looks like we're kind of dropping off here. I think some people kind of came for what they needed. Don't want to really extend this farther than it needs to be. Want to talk about the SPX real quick before we leave. Wow, look at that massive candle, bro. It's on the daily. This is today, August 14th. Let's look at the hourly and what's been happening. So we were at this flat bottom, flat top support, previous resistance turned support. We actually had a bounce back yesterday's session, I believe, and ended up closing up here. And this is all August 13th. And the closing candle had a lot of buy pressure towards the end, right? And I'd have to look at what that looked like. I don't really trade gaps and stuff. And you can just see here, like it just opened massively lower and actually opened beneath, beneath what's going on. So, most people who trade the S&P and stocks or whatever, they day trade it. They don't swing trade it for this reason. And they typically decide at the end of the day if they want to close their position. And they also typically trade at the beginning. So here is a classic example of what would happen if you were trading the stock market. So you would close, right, and say, okay, well, if we open above here in the first hour, then I'm probably looking to eye along up to this 200 period. If you were trading the hourly, you would have made 1.32%, which apparently in the stock market world is a lot. And then instead what happened was you opened down here, right, below your conversion and your baseline, which is the bearish sign. So at this point, you're taking a short as soon as the candle opens. And then sometime between here and here, you would take a short and you'd be up a pretty penny on that short right now. You'd be up like 1.4%. And I don't know what the SPX is on. And looks like we had a short on, let me go to the hourly. Yeah, it looks like shit. I've been trading, it tells me I'm supposed to be trading the daily. And it went short on August 2nd, whatever the fuck that means. So it went short on August 2nd, Jesus. It's all the way back here. Here, no, here. So we went short here. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, we'd be pretty fine. Just maintaining that short. Or the way you could probably trade this is just look for shorts. So take this short, indecision candle, pull back, close. And then you're kind of far down here. So you would either, get back in at some point up here. This is a good point. Maybe you take some profit down there, there. Oh, it looks good. All right, let's see if we've got any questions coming in. No, it looks like it, guys. All right, guys, really appreciate everyone that's been watching the channel, supporting the channel. I hope you guys are enjoying the shorter content on the other channel. As always, let me know in the comments below what you think of the transition, if you're happy with having the live streams over here, and also the new content that's coming out. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe and like button. Check out the links in the, you guys know the drill. Follow us on all our social medias and mailing lists and all that stuff, and check out our playlists that are over on the other channel. All right, guys, I'll catch you guys on the flip. Peace, peace.